The one thing men need to do in relationship, the one thing men need to have in relationship, and I'm wondering if you can guess what that is. Well, I'm going to tell you what that is, and I definitely want to hear your thoughts and feelings on this and the importance of having your man do this in relationship and be this person. And that thing is shadow work. And I want to make some connections here that are really, really important from a primal perspective, from an evolutionary psychology perspective, from a place of sacred sexuality and intimacy, from trauma bonding and feeling safe. There's a lot here. When men do their shadow work, they take responsibility for who they are. They take full ownership of everything they've been. And what happens in shadow work, this exploration of these undesirable parts of ourselves, whether it's feelings or characteristics of aggression and anger, deep sadness, grief, jealousy, despondency, apathy, whatever these big feelings or experiences are. Maybe it's trauma that is unresolved. Maybe it's physical abuse or an absent father. Maybe your father went to jail. Maybe your mother hit you. Maybe you were sexually abused by an aunt. Whatever your shadows are, whatever those very difficult parts of yourself are within you that you cannot access because society tells you it's wrong or it's not healthy to have that expression, and you've just been suppressing yourself. You've been numbing yourself with alcohol, with gaming, with excessive work, with status, with attainment, material wealth attainment, with drugs, with sex, with pornography, with excessive masturbation, with hurting others in order to protect yourself, with withdrawing from the world in order to not be hurt. Whatever your shadows are, where you feel deeply uncomfortable, when you do not explore that in relationship, you project inwards. We do that as human beings. These are human things first and foremost. Let's get very clear on that. These judgments that we hold against ourselves with such tension, with such self-loathing and self-hate, we project onto others in relationship. Now, what being, from an evolutionary perspective and even attraction dynamics and sexual polarity, when we start doing our inner work, i.e. looking at our shadows, surrounding ourselves with other men, being witnessed by other men without judgment and with compassion, with love, with loving presence, with empathetic resonance, with radical acceptance that then can transfer to radical self-acceptance. When we do that as men and we are witnessed by other men in that space, that familiarity, something clicks when men do their own work with each other and in solitude and on their own journey. Something profound is able to be released. It's like that thin gold chain in your drawer, and you pull it out and it's full of knots and tangles, and you try and get all those tangles and those knots out, but you just can't until you get to the core, that one knot that untangles all the other knots. That's the delicacy of our psyche. That's a great analogy for how our mind works. When we get to the core root of our issues, and that requires exploration and excavation, and we get to the core, all the other stuff, the painful experiences that we've had, that we've layered upon our own lives and the meaning that we've placed on our lives, it begins to fall apart. And being witnessed by other men, knowing that you don't have to be shamed and you're not wrong for feeling and experiencing what you're feeling, can be truly deeply liberating. Now, in relationship, from an evolutionary perspective, again, attraction dynamics and sexual polarity, your partner sees that you are willing to go to very uncomfortable places, that you are dedicated, that you are committed, that you are disciplined, that you are confident enough, that you are ready to face your fears. That makes you very attractive. It makes you someone that can be relied on, that can be trustworthy. The Gottman Institute of Relationships looks at this deeply, has studied this for many, many years, 20, 30 years, specifically on the science of relationships. Being trustworthy and reliable is the number one thing a partner wants in their man. That integrity, that you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and you can prove this. You show this. You have this discipline. You have this courage to go into the unknown, to deal with your stuff, to not blame your family, to not project shame and blame onto others because you're not dealing with it yourself. You carry a willingness to do that. That's empowering. Now, when you do that, man, your partner opens up to you. They feel safe in your presence because now you're not leaking onto them. You have healthy outlets for releasing your anger, whether it's through trauma release exercises, whether it's through emotional release exercises, whether it's through being witnessed by other men. You have healthy expressions of anger, primal screaming, being able to exert momentum and physical force through your body, not in an unintentional, uncontrollable way, such as hitting your partner or being violent towards others or screaming at people or abusing at people, being autocratic or oppressive in your workplace because you're trying to gain your power back. You're trying to gain control. You're trying to gain a sense of self by controlling others because maybe that's been done to you. That's part of your shadow. You've been forced. You've been hurt. You've been oppressed. And so now it's time to give that to others, to do that to others. No, when you do your shadow work, when you take ownership of who you've been and you start to appreciate that, you can fall into gratitude. And that's a journey arc that's very long. That's a hero's journey that's not easy. But when you can get into that appreciation for everything that you are, you will cease to judge others. You will cease to see others through the lens of being wrong or shame, because maybe that was done to you. Maybe you were told you were wrong. Maybe you were told you weren't enough. Maybe you were bullied and you made that mean that you're not attractive enough. You're not smart enough. You're not great enough. And so you compensate as an adult. And that's usually being in extreme behavior. It could be womanizing, could be hurting others, manipulating others, could be hiding from the world, being passive, not following your dreams. When you are doing your shadow work, you fall into a place of purpose, a place of intentionality, a place of being deliberate and real with who you are. You start to own that. You start to embrace that gift and your gifts that you give to the world. And you start to follow and pursue and embody your dreams. You become an embodied man. That's attractive. That is safe for the feminine in your life, whatever gender the feminine takes. Safe for the family, the people that love you and care for you. Your level of consistency in this place and space becomes safe, becomes certain, becomes stable. Spending time in solitude, in nature, with yourself, acquainting yourself with your own mindscape, with everything that is you, not running from your mind anymore and being with who you are. Being able to assess yourself in real time when you're in an argument, a repetitive pattern that just keeps taking place, partner after partner after partner. You're the common denominator. And you're able to catch yourself in real time and say, wow, this is coming from a place of witnessing my parents like this perhaps. And now I'm just playing it out because it's familiar and familiarity feels safe, but fuck that. I don't want that level of familiarity in my life anymore because it's not serving me. It's isolating me. We have basic needs: to be seen, to be heard, to be understood, appreciated, respected, accepted. And we also have the 6 human needs that Tony Robbins speaks to, and one of them is significance. And if we are not doing our shadow work, we will seek significance in unhealthy ways. Again, we will oppress others, we will try and control others, or we will do things that aren't authentic to ourselves. We'll take that job that we don't want to take because we think that's what our wives want, or that's what our children want, or that's what our fathers want, with our unconscious connection still to the father wound, to I'm seeking unconscious approval, validation, enoughness from my father. You've got to do your shadow work in relationship for yourself primarily, to free yourself. The masculine essence, which resides in every human being, the masculine essence craves freedom. We talk about essences and masculine and feminine for contrast purposes. It helps us learn, right? The brain's very good at compartmentalizing already, so this helps us learn. And this masculine essence for freedom becomes distorted if we're not doing our shadow work. It becomes an obsession. It becomes a must-have. It becomes a freedom at any cost. That means hurting others. That means leaving others, abandoning others, abandoning yourself for this warped sense of what you've made freedom to mean. Because we do that when we're not dealing with our shadows. We're not dealing with our pains and our fears. And we're losing ourselves in that space. The opportunity that we have as men is to do our deep work. Not to catch up to the feminine or catch up to women doing their deep work. To be who we've always meant to fucking be. In our power. Because when we're in that place authentically, from a healthy space, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, we start to clear out the clutter of the past. We're more than just powerhouses. We're stewards of this earth. We're stewards of humanity. We have an ability to be so present to ourselves and to others. That presence is everything. Everything in relationship. It grounds the essence of who we are. It lets those people know you are safe, and you are real, and you are consistent, and you are willing, and you are able. And when you open yourself up in that way, you open the hearts of the people in your life in that way, when you open your woman in that way, where her heart is open for you and she feels you and she sees you and you're there and you're postured and you're lengthening your spine and you're breathing deeply and you're slowing life down because it doesn't need to be erratic anymore, that's how her sex opens. And that's how your sex opens. She opens your heart and that armor comes down and we complement each other in the most real of ways. It opens up floodgates to possibility, not only through sexuality and sexual expression, but through deep emotional connection, through union, through sacred union. Sacred union is about healing generational trauma, healing our own trauma. It's about creating magic, possibility, potential, tapping into what we call flow state at a whole new level. Sacred union is a mirror for us. Sacred union is many things, many things. And part of what it is an opportunity to grow into who we've always meant to be through each other, through supporting each other, through seeing each other with non-judgment and compassion, through loving each other. But we have to do our shadow work. We have to accept everything that we are before we can attempt to accept anything in our outside world. Wholeness comes from within. And when that is felt, the desperate energy, the codependence, the fear, it doesn't necessarily dissipate and go away. Sometimes it does. But what happens is it becomes manageable. It becomes a choice, because now you're not being dictated to by unconscious forces. Unconscious forces that are grounded in unhealthy protective patterns that you developed as a child. You make the unconscious conscious, you make the unknown known, and then you get to choose. And then you're driven by another cosmic force, and that is love. And that is an unknown force that will take you to the mystery. You become the mystery. You become that visionary you've always meant to be. Consciousness in motion. Men, do your shadow work. Be willing to go there. Train your body, train your mind. Exercise. Physically exercise. Gain access to your emotional body. Create range and spectrum in how you express, how you feel, how you are in the world. Don't be limited. Don't be myopic. Don't be rigid. Rigidity resides in fear, constriction, contraction from the world. That's not you. That's who you don't need to be that person. But you get to choose who you want to be. As you do your shadow work, you free up that space. And that can be confronting, but that's just another layer to face. And then you don't bring your charge. You don't bring that sense of rage and aggression and uncontrollable emotion to your relationship that someone else has to hold. That's not fair. You get to hold that within yourself. And you won't have that need to project it onto others. I'd love to know your thoughts on this as a man, the importance of doing your shadow work. And ladies, I'd love to know your feelings and thoughts on this as well. The importance of the men in your life doing their shadow work. Power and blessings.